fellowship, but it is time to start our meeting. Please continue to eat your lunch while we get going. So, welcome to my very first meeting up here in Marne. Thank you very much. It's like the first day of school. So, I am Sarah Buck, and this is the 5,706th meeting of the Rotary Club of Chicago. Welcome, and thank you for being here. I'm going to invite Ted up here to give us the thought of the day.
Thank you, President Sarah, and a warm welcome to everyone. Hope everyone had a good 4th of July weekend, as I did. Actually, more than a weekend, I guess, right? So I'm going to flash back to something like 2,300 years ago when Aristotle spoke of the essence of life. He said it is to serve others and to do good. Sound familiar? So it's been quite a while since giving back to the community as a concept. It has been a concept. It's not novel by any means. Service is what life is all about, and of course the essence of Rotary. Great acts are made up of small deeds, but none of this takes root without the fertile soil of a Rotary Club. And almost 120 years ago, Paul Harris and his colleagues started the world's first service club with just 4 or 5 gentlemen meeting for lunch. It still needed to be nurtured, and the word had to be spread. So within a few years, Harris and his associates traveled to the West Coast, to cities like San Francisco, which is club number 2, as well as Oakland, Seattle, and so on. None of these clubs would have grown without leadership, and that's what we celebrate as we start a new Rotary year. It seems to come natural to some people. Think of Winston Churchill, Dwight Eisenhower, Eleanor Roosevelt, Martin Luther King Jr. But I think most of us placed in the leadership positions have to work hard to cultivate it, to spread it, and to persuade others to follow. So today we continue to celebrate that leadership which has nourished the club for 119 years. And I'm confident that each of us in his or her own way will continue to do so for the next year. Please join me in thanking again Alita for her tremendous leadership and guidance over the last year. And again, welcome Sarah, who was just installed 2 weeks ago, to the presidency of Rotary One. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ted. I need to do a little switcheroo up here. I believe I need to share the screen. So we're doing things differently today. So the Zoom is being run from up here. So now they were like looking up my nose on Zoom. So this is much better. Okay. All right. Okay, so we are going to start our meeting with a member fun fact. So each week we're going to have a member fun fact. So I will be soliciting fun facts from each of you. Now here's the thing. So this week we're going to learn about Gunner, but then next week the trivia question will be who was the member who, for instance, was an exchange student to Hart, Michigan. And if you get the answer correct, then you get a sticker. And then we'll have a new fun fact. Okay, so every week you'll have an entry slip, if you will, about who was last week's member's fun fact, and then you'll have a new fun fact each week. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if you understand. Got it? All right, so our member fun fact, this is Gunnar. This is my husband, so he was an easy one to put first. So Gunnar began his Rotary journey as a youth exchange student from La Paz, Bolivia to Hart, Michigan for his senior year in high school. He lived with a family of doctors who inspired him to join the medical field. So try to remember, because next week I'll be asking you, who was our Bolivian who went to, well, I shouldn't say that because then everybody will know. Who went to Michigan. Okay, we have some volunteer opportunities coming up very soon, actually this weekend. So we have the Jesse White Off to College Trunk Party. If you haven't signed up yet, please do so Friday and Saturday. You've got the times that are available there. So you can go and register for that. For the Jesse White Trunk Party, you are packing duffel bags for rising college freshmen. So anything that they might need to go to college, sheets, soap, things like that. And then on Saturday, they give those out. Also this weekend, a few of us are volunteering at the Square Roots Festival. There are still slots available if you are able to join us to volunteer for that as well. The thing about this one is the Rotary Club of Chicago receives cash back for every volunteer hour donated, which is why I've been pushing this so much. And also, normally we just do one kayak cleanup per year, but this year the Navy approached us about doing a service project with Rotary One. And so we're going to do a second kayak Chicago River cleanup that is on August 5th from 3 to 5. So there will be servicemen out there with us. This registration link is live. So if you're available on that Monday, it's Chicago Navy Week, and they're kicking it off with us with the service project. So please, if you are able to join us on that day. And then the Job One lunch, which is the next Tuesday, the 6th, we'll have a spokesperson here from the Navy. So definitely join us if you are able. Every Wednesday, you have an opportunity to help cook and serve meals with Alita at the Cornerstone Center. So this is an ongoing one every Wednesday. All right, so with that, I am going to bring up Eric to do our introduction for our speakers.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, President Sarah. Happy to be here on your first actual meeting, even though I missed your installation. She's not bitter about it at all. We have two distinguished speakers with us today who I've long been working on to bring into the clutches of Rotary and come and talk to us. And some of you may have met one of them, Marne Smiley, at a prior event when we did the fashion show. So today we're going to be welcoming Andrew Johnson and Marne Smiley. So let me start with Andrew. He's an enrolled citizen of the Cherokee Nation. He currently serves as the executive director of the Native American Chamber of Commerce of Illinois and president of Cherokee Corporate Capital Providers. He's also the chairperson of the Illinois Native American Employment Plan Advisory Council and a member of the Business Enterprise Program Council. In addition, his responsibilities include the Mitchell Museum of the American Indian and the Chicago American Indian Community Collaborative. He has served as the executive director of the American Indian Center of Chicago. He's also a CPA and received his MBA from the University of Southern California. He's been a key member of the executive management team at multiple organizations and has worked a lot in the nonprofit industry. As for Marne, she is a member of the Otoe Missouri tribe, and she can correct me if I pronounced that wrong, and has been a dedicated facilitator for the Chicago American Indian Community Collaborative as well since 2021. In her role, she organizes the regular board of directors meetings and oversees the organization's internal and external operations. Marne is highly active in the Native American community, contributing significantly to numerous grants for the Chicago American Indian Community Collaborative. Now, beyond that, she also has her own firm. She's the CEO of Bumper Lanes, which is a marketing company. And beyond that, I know Marne through working together on the board of the Union League Club, where she chairs the athletics committee, which I'm assuming you're still chairing. It's also worth knowing in that context that she's probably the most physically fit person that I know personally, who could likely crush any one of us. And not that that's really relevant to today's conversation, but I would keep your questions nice just in case. With that, please welcome Marne and Andrew.
Are you coming up with me? I guess you can sit there. Okay, it's all yours. All right.
Hello, everyone. I was told very specific rules that I have to speak into this mic for every single thing. So I'm usually a wanderer around. So I may still take this out if I can. Okay, great. Now I can move if I need to. So we're going to split this talk in kind of in two ways, and we know we have a little bit of a time crunch, which is fine. We can get a lot done in our 20 minutes. So I'm going to start off with just kind of some of the things that my talk is called So You Met a Native. And I saw someone put in parentheses American, and we actually purposely leave off American because most people don't call themselves Native Americans, call themselves natives. That's your first lesson. And how to talk to natives is oftentimes the new words that people are going by is not American Indian, it's not Native American. The colloquialism that a Native person will call themselves is a Native person, or the younger generation, kind of like the 20 and the teenagers are calling themselves indigenous. So just when you're out and about, like those are just kind of your first raise of how to start just having these conversations. I'm going to start off with just what's happening with if and when you meet a native, like what some of the culturally sensitive and non-sensitive things that you should be talking about. And then I'm going to hand it off to Andrew, and he's going to talk a little bit about what present day natives are working on, and we have a lot that's happening in the legislation in Chicago and beyond. And he's the director of advocacy for Chicago American Indian Community Collaborative, which is where I am the facilitator and Andrew is the director of advocacy. So let's come back to I'm going to give you a few little stats on what it means to be a native here in Chicago, which there are 572 federally recognized tribes in the country. I'm just going to show you a little map and what that actually means. Illinois, up until about 3 months ago, had 0. The state of Illinois said Native Americans that are with you don't know anything about you. So it's possible, how many folks in this room have met a Native American person to your knowledge? Oh my God, what's all of you? That's great. What am I supposed to do? In front of the computer. Also in front of the computer? God bless it, you people on Zoom. Come in person. We're great here. Thank you. All right, fine. I'm stuck over here. Here we go. So that here in Chicago, there are, we like to say, like about 100 recognized tribes and about 150 to 200,000 Native Americans. So we are roaming around. We just kind of blend in. We kind of blend in. Now, some of the other things about Native folks is our life expectancy is 48 for men, 52 for female. Like our suicide rates, our high school dropout rates, our pregnancy rates, they are all not doing great. So when you're thinking about Native people, like you're obviously seeing Andrew and I in this, great setting in this professional place, but a lot of our counterparts out there that we are here to represent and that we are like have to keep our hearts close to the ground with, they don't have a voice. They are barely keeping food on their table. And I mean that in all sincerity. Like these are our community members that we have the privilege of speaking for. And so I don't want to take that lightly. The fact that I get to be here is amazing, but the fact that like our other Native American population is really seriously struggling. Some of them don't have water. There's just a lot going on in our Native folks that don't really get the attention that it should. So I'm now going to jump to some questions that have come up with me on questions that may seem okay to ask someone. And by doing that, first I'm going to start with questions that aren't great. So these are all things that have been asked of me when someone finds out I'm a Native. First saying, hi, I'm Marty. Oh my gosh, you look different. You look weird. Like, where are you from? All the time, all the freaking time. And I'm like, oh, I'm Native American. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, whatever they have in their mind of what that person looks like. I got the cheekbones. I got the, eyes, I guess, sometimes. But here are some questions that aren't great if you should meet a Native. And does your tribe have a casino? So there is some history here. A lot of tribes do have casinos, but maybe don't start there. Okay, and there are some tax benefits to tribes having the ability to have casinos, but trust me, that does not mean that these tribes are well off or doing a lot of things. Like, they are still on land that they did not want to be on and removed from by the federal government. So, you know, even though they may have like some casinos floating around, it doesn't mean that they're economically doing great. If you get to go to school for free. Now, this one seems like it's going to be okay, but that's kind of implying that maybe I wouldn't go to school, or, you know, a lot of other things that are coming up there. There are a lot of federal grants and government support for Native people to go to school. Not every state has them, and there's some high restrictions on them in most states. For instance, your tribe has to be from there, as well as the school has to be from there, and your reservation has to be from there. So in some states, that's 5 people. Other states, they don't allow it at all. Illinois has no support for Native people at the federal or state level. Michigan, where I did go to school, does have support. So I was able, potentially, I didn't need the support, but I was able to, you know, access school and things just through my own well-being. But Michigan has one of the most flexible programs in the country, actually. Do you or have you ever lived in a teepee? What do you think about Dance of the Woods? Do you believe in cannibalism? How much Native are you? Now, this is okay, like maybe, where it is interesting. Like, I will usually say I'm 50% Native, just to kind of give relevance, and I'm also really proud of the fact that I'm Native. But there is this thing in the Native culture, it's called, like, you know, blood quantum, like, where if you have more Native blood in you, blood quantum, that you are better than your Native counterparts. Now, this has kind of come into our culture a little bit from colonialism in a lot of ways, because it never mattered. Like, right, if you're Italian, and it doesn't matter, like, no one's asking how much Italian you are. If your grandparents grew up there, that's fine. If you're Polish, like, people just accept that you have this background. For Native people in the United States, we have to prove that we are Native, and we have to prove it by our lineage, and we can only prove that by the blood quantum. So even though it may seem like a very natural question of, oh, like, how are you Native? Like, who's your mom? Who's your dad? Like, how much Native are you? In our culture, it really ends up being kind of not great, and it's not our fault. It's the only way that Native people, if you do get any benefits from your government, from the state, or from whatever, it's only by proving your blood quantum. We actually have to walk around with a card that says that this is us, this is our blood quantum, and these are these things that I can have access to. No other culture is going to make you prove that you're Italian or Jewish or these other things to this degree. So for our culture, it's a little bit odd and restricted. The last one people openly ask quite often is how much money or how many free checks do you get from the government? That's none. You may get some support through your tribe. In fact, my tribe does have a lot of enterprises. They own cattle, they own gas lines, they do have a casino, it's a very small one, and they have like 2 gas stations. It's all right near the reservation, and we get a little bit of financial support. By a little bit, I mean like a couple $100 every quarter, and that's what everyone on the tribe gets. So I, you know, obviously live here. That doesn't go as far as maybe it would on the reservation, which is in the middle of Oklahoma, where, like, when I'm there, my phones don't work. There's very little internet. But each tribe, when you're on that tribe, you are on Native land. You are no longer in the United States. You're on Native land. We have our own police force. We have our own schools. We have our own kind of everything when you go on those tribes. Not every tribe can sustain that, but just, you know when you do see, sometimes you'll see on the highways, especially in Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, you're entering such and such land. Like, you are not in the US when you are on Native land. Those are questions not to ask. I'm going to hand this over in like 1 minute on some questions that, you know, are fine. And I'm going to kind of run through these. What tribe or nation are you from? Cool. Yeah. Like, It's kind of asking, where are you from? Like, we like that. By the way, my tribe is pronounced Oto, Missouri. Oto, O-T-O-E, looks like a toe. But usually a Native person will tell you where they are from, in their own language. And that would be my tribe. I'm from the Jawadi Natachi, which is basically Oto, but in my own language, which is similar to the Dakota Lakota, or some people may know it as the Sioux. Where did you grow up? How often do you visit your tribe? How many Native speakers are still around? Unfortunately for my tribe, our last Native speaker just passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. Our full Native speakers, so Native people and our languages, and this makes Buck and Andrew, were our languages, our dance, our hair, like our whole culture was eliminated for about 60 to 70 years by the government. We were moved off of our res, we were pulled from our families and removed into boarding schools. So our culture was completely disseminated, and language is still something that's really tough for a lot of people on our tribe, a lot of tribes. Does your tribe have an annual powwow or celebration? Most tribes do. Mine is this weekend. Is there anything I can do to support you or your folks, you or your people, your community? And do you have any special ceremonies or traditions that are meaningful to you? Like, these are all things that you'd probably ask anyone who's very rich in their culture, but they're things that would be really relevant to our community. And if you do get down that far on tradition, ceremonies, specials, know that there are some things that Native people will not share with non-Native folks. And there are some things that Native people will only speak about in certain times of the year, because there's so much life about that certain idea or ceremony that they won't speak about it in the winter, or they won't speak about it in the fall. Only when that idea is not present will they kind of give it its extra life. So that's my portion. I'm really hoping that you guys, seriously, I know Eric said I will kick your butt, but it's only if you come here with a non-sincere heart. I want you, if there is something that's nagging at you that is weird or odd or just seems like not great, this is the place to ask it. We are very friendly Native people. You can touch our hair, you can do whatever. Like, I just want to dissipate any things that may be on your brain that you haven't felt a comfortable place to ask it. Like, we are those people. We will make sure that you are honored and that you are respected, as long as you deliver that same to us. So please put those whatever crazy questions you may have in the back of your mind. And then I'm going to hand this over to Andrew, and he's going to cover kind of what's happening in the legislation part and all the other things that we're trying to still help those folks that I talked about earlier that don't get to have the voice that we get to have here today. Okay, Andrew, all you.
Marne has been a remarkable force within our community, and want to thank her so much for where we are today, because I think without her, we would not have the kind of presence that we do. So thank you. Thank you, Marne. Thank you very, very much. So absolutely, she deserves a round of applause. I'm going to zoom through some of these slides that I have to focus on the legislative aspect, some of the what's and why, that what are the challenges that we face here in Illinois. And I want to point out one thing. We do a land acknowledgement. Some people call it performative. This is a very, it's not religious, but it is a very important and meaningful statement that is done before different ceremonies now. But I want to bring out one thing about Illinois itself. It is also it is the location of the ancestral homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Potawatomi, Ojibwe, and Odawa. It's also the home of the Ho-Chunk, Peoria, Kaskaskia, Pinkasha, Wea, Miami, Mascouten, Sac Fox, Meskwaki, Kickapoo, and Chickasaw nations. And do you recognize those different tribes, those different nations that were here? And probably not. And this is a direct reflection of the federal and state Indian policies practiced by against the original people of our region, actually the nation. And as a result, Illinois is one of those few, until just a few months ago, that does not have any federally recognized tribes nor land. So you can see here with a map of the United States, it is so representative of the Indian removal policy of Andrew Jackson back in 1830 and many of the other treaties here of removing natives from the east to west of the Mississippi. And Illinois falls in that area too. So really, we've had no voice, no representation, no seat at the table. Illinois thought they had solved their Indian problem years ago. And this is why Native activism is so important to us today. And go on to some of the others. But we're pleased. We've had 3 bills passed in 2023 that were specifically for Native Americans. There was only one previous bill related to us that was passed in 2019, the Native American Employment Plan Act. There are about 54,000 state employees in Illinois. Of that, probably 125 were natives. This is passed, I think we're at about 200 now. We meet on a quarterly basis and focus on hiring of the natives. And I'm going to zoom through some of these because it goes into the detail of what that is. In 2023, we were fortunate and had 3 bills passed in our favor. One is SB 1446. It's a dress code policy. So it allows for culturally appropriate attire to be worn at school ceremonies. The second was HB 3413, Remains of Native Americans. And the third one was HB 1633. So mandates the teaching of Native American history and other clauses within our school system here. If we talk about just the first one, the dress code policy, this came about because one of our community members was in line in Evanston to receive his diploma. He was confronted by a proctor and told him, you need to remove your Native American regalia or you cannot receive your diploma. He refused because these were gifts from his grandfather and his father, who had both been in Indian boarding schools and had never gone through a ceremony of this, like this. So this was a very important time for his family, and it was denied to them. And if somebody thinks the legacy of Indian boarding schools is something that was from years and years and years ago, it is something that we still face and experience today. And let me show you. This is what he had. He had an eagle feather. He had a sash that was made, and he had some beading on his cap. This is what he was wearing and denied. And we were forced to pass a law to allow him to wear that.
This is only 2 years ago.
2 years ago. And so now it does reflect that Native American items of cultural significance can be worn. HB 3413, Remains of Native Americans. There was, I would receive calls periodically of items being found, bones and that, and would have to go, and they feel that Native Americans, and technically you're supposed to report those to the coroner and the medical department, all of those things. We had to work behind the scenes to get those kinds of items back to the families or treat them appropriately. But now we have a law in place where there is a concerted effort to contact the tribal nation, return those, and if they can't find them, there's a separate place in the cemetery down in Springfield that is set aside for Native remains. And then I passed by the other one real quick. Just passed law in 20, and we have 1 minute. Okay, then that case, we were able to pass a law. There was nothing in place that required the teaching of Native American history. That's going to come into play here. in the next school year. So we've been working on that. And then there were two items that were in front of the legislature this year that didn't pass. One was a mascot bill, was from K through 12 to remove Native American mascots, names, and logos. And then the second was for the Prairie Band Potawatomi to return their lands that were illegally taken from them, illegally sold back in 1849. So they've been working on that for 175 years. Finally, Congress passed a law April 19th of this year. So today we do have a federally recognized tribe and trust land here in Illinois, but it has not passed our state legislature. So we still have a lot of work to do. Okay.
Yeah, so we just borrow this one.
Sure thing.
Okay, so we only have one microphone. You know, we normally have two. We're not going to have two anymore. So we just have one. So the way this will work is we'll take questions from the floor. They will repeat the question into the microphone for anyone who didn't hear it the first time, and as well as for Zoom. So looks like we've got questions on the floor already. So just ask. And then you have to repeat it.
I'm so surprised there isn't like legislative recognition, but I feel like we've been more aware. We're seeing that where there's recognition of lands and highways. So is that helpful, or is that is it feel more like window dressing, and that you're trying to address things and make sure that it's legislative?
It is a first step. As you can see, as we talked about our history. Oh, you repeat the question.
What's the importance of land acknowledgements?
I'll let that. It's very, very important to me. I need to speak for myself and to many others too, to have that kind of recognition, because we've been on this land since time immemorial. What is taught to people is that this is a land without people for people without land. We're going through something now with Chicago, with DuSable, John Point Baptiste DuSable. All of a sudden, he built a house here, and then Chicago came out of nowhere. We have been in this area for millennium, and that's what we want to get across, that the teachings are almost from when the colonizers arrived versus what happened in that millennia before. So I think that's what is important, that this is a transition. We've been here, and for that kind of acknowledgement to occur is very important and very, very meaningful. I hope that answered.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Kevin Coster, an advocate of Native American. And I was just curious on your thoughts of what he's bringing really to the world on the Native American. And with this new movie, I don't know if anyone's seen that yet, but it seems to be pretty positive of what I've seen.
The question is Kevin Costner and his impact on Native people and his positive impact. I actually don't know the movie. Do you know the name of it? Do you know it?
What this latest one is,
It's a new Western, I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. There are, so anyone who's bringing light, not only hopefully to just, I think what he does a good job of is pulling in more of an authentic Native experience. Obviously, there's a lot of, Native cowboys out there that just isn't true, or Indians and cowboys. I don't even call ourselves Indians anymore. Natives and cowboys. Indians and cowboys. And so when you have this proper representation of what our culture is and the struggle that we've gone through, I think that any light that can be brought is amazing. And there's a lot of movies that have won awards that have just come out in the past 3 or 4 years that can give you some good reflection. And that reminds me that Andrew has put on the table some books that are going to be really relevant. And I can follow with some really, really great movies about some of the land removal and some of the work that we're trying to do to get, maybe not land back, but just acknowledgement. And, my tribe alone had something like 16 broken treaties for our own land. And we're lot of work to be done, not only for our tribe's access, but for our tribe's, like staying culturally relevant.
There's two sides with Kevin Coster, and we really do appreciate him trying to present another picture, given what was presented in those many years before. But from my side, in many ways, it's still a sanitized type of version, this noble savage that lives in our wilderness here. So I do appreciate him going in that direction. I think one of the things you referred to is Yellowstone. I watched an episode. That was fine, just coming out with something new here. He's not native, but I do appreciate him supporting the natives' culture, the native views, and we need more people like that. But we need it from the native viewpoint.
Stay here, yep. All right, so with that, unfortunately, I have to cut them off. This is very interesting. We're very appreciative that you were here today. So let's give our speakers a round of applause, please. And I also have the debut of our speaker gifts for this year. So this year, the speakers are getting reusable grocery bags with our Rotary logo on them. So we have one for each of you.
Thank you.
There you
I'll
go.
use it this afternoon.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. Yep. So if anyone else has anything else they'd like to discuss, they just volunteered themselves to stay. So perfect. All right. So the next portion of our meeting, we have a new member joining us, except he's not really new. Everybody knows Danilo by now, but now he's official. So Danilo and Nancy, come on up here. It is your turn.
We're going to make it official finally. I know many of you have met him and enjoyed being with him, so we're so excited to have him become a member of the club. It is my great pleasure on behalf of the Board of Directors and members of the Rotary Club of Chicago to welcome you as a member of Rotary One. We welcome you not only for the fine fellowship that we shall share, but also for your talents, abilities, and enthusiasm that will help us to carry out our many projects to make our community, our country, and the world a better place in which to live. Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women to public office. Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and the sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built on those eternal principles that have served as the moral compass for people throughout the ages. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people. Are they looking at my nose? Okay.
They will be shortly.
Business and professional people pledge to upholding the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and international peace can be achieved when business people unite under the banner of service. You have been chosen for membership in the Rotary Club of Chicago because your fellow Rotarians believe you to be a leader in your profession, and because you manifest the intelligence and commitment of heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are a representative of your profession in this club, and any information of educational value pertaining to that profession must naturally come to us through you. At the same time, you become an ambassador from us to your profession, and we rely on you to carry the principles and ideals of service, which we here inspire to those who share your professional activity. The community will know and judge Rotary by your embodiment of it in character and service. And we accept you as a member because we know our principles and organization will be safe in your keeping. We also expect you to give us the inspiration that will help us to become better Rotarians. And it is with this hope that I ask the president of the Rotary Club of Chicago to invest you with the distinguishing pin of a Rotarian and we offer you the right hand of Rotary Fellowship. Welcome. Okay. Do we do a photo op?
You want to take a minute to tell us about yourself? For those who haven't met him or haven't seen his business card, that's another walker.
Thank you, President Sarah. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, brother and sister. My Rotary life started before around 15 years, and I was a big president of my club in Serbia, governor in Serbia, owner of a lot of records in Rotary, because it's Rotary on first place in my life, for me and my family too. In this moment, I was moved with family here in Chicago, and I'm very, very proud because I'm a member of Rotary One Club, and together with you work on projects to help our community, our club, and Rotary International. Thank you so much, and I'm ready to work with us.
Okay, thank you, Danilo and Nancy. So next on our agenda is our guests. So I'm going to ask all of our visiting international, visiting US Rotarians and guests to come up here, and then you'll take your turn at the mic. You have about 30 seconds to tell us about what your name is, where you're from, a little bit about your Rotary Club. So please come on up. We'll do flag exchanges at the end. So we'll take pictures. You can just leave those at your seats. We'll definitely do that at the end of the meeting. So visiting Rotarians and guests, come on up here. And as you've learned, you got to stand right in front of the computer so that everybody can hear. So come on up.
Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here finally at Chicago One. My name is Barbara Risher Welch. I'm from Southern California, just outside of Los Angeles. And I'm a member of the Montebello Rotary Club, and I'm a past district governor of District 5300, Southern California, Southern Nevada. And that was way back when in 2003-04. So I'm excited to be here, and with my colleagues, we're representing the Selected Independent Funeral Homes, which is based here in Chicago, and we're here for a board meeting beginning tomorrow. So those of us who are Rotarians are very excited to say, hey, let's go to the Chicago One Rotary meeting. And I'm so glad we did. That was a great presentation on your part as well. Thank you, Sarah, President Sarah.
Welcome.
Hello, I'm Eric Trimble. I'm from Moline, Illinois, not as far as my colleagues. I'm a third generation Rotary president. Both my grandfathers were presidents in their clubs. My father was president. I'm past president, Paul Harris Fellow. Our daughter is a fourth generation president. She was one of the founders of Rotary After Hours, which is one of the alternative clubs where they meet twice a month in a bar. And the first 1 month's a business meeting and the next month's a service project. So Rotary has been an important part of our family for years. I've been a member of the club here for 25 years, but this is the first time I've had an opportunity to attend Rotary One. So I appreciate your hospitality and welcoming us today.
Hard act to follow. My name is John Kepner. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. We're a member of North Mecklenburg Rotary, and right outside a little place called Lake Norman. And I was past president. Sarah, you're going to do a great job. Congratulations. And I love the program today. But I was past president in Wheeling, West Virginia, way back in the 90s. That's where the gray hair comes from. And also, I was president in 2016 in North Mecklenburg. So my father was also president of Rotary, and we go way back. And it's an honor to be here. One of the great things about Rotary is that you can go anywhere in the world and attend a meeting and meet some of the top people in the community. So we've always loved it and appreciate you having us.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jocelyn Sapno. I'm from the city, but I am Rotary member in the Philippines. It's called the Rotary Club of West Pampanga. But I wasn't, I stayed here a lot. So my friend who is a doctor recruited me like 2 years ago, but I wasn't able to do the inductions every June. So I said maybe it's just good options to just have my membership here if the family of the Rotary of Chicago will welcome me. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to be part of, and I will do my very best to be part of the club. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is IBK. I'm from Kyrgyz Republic. It's the small country that locates in Central Asia. We border with Kazakhstan, China, and Russia. It's really unusual that we speak at least 3 languages like Russian, Kyrgyz, and English in our country. And I came here 1 year ago like a student. And I'm studying at National Louis University right now. I became the president of Global Exchange Club students in 1 year. And it's really big honor for me to be here and represent my country. And one of my biggest dreams is to become a teacher in the future. I want to teach other people how to be IT specialists because it's one of the needable professions in the future. And I want to influence a lot of people to become really successful and independent people because especially I want to help for international people who needs help. And I'm so excited for being here, and it's really big honor for me to be here and be around you. And thank you so much for inviting.
Great. Thank you to all of our guests for joining us today. Let me put our other slides back up here. I absolutely feel like I'm teaching. Absolutely.
Don't give me any homework. Right?
You already have homework. Eventually, we're going to do the member survey, but not today. Yeah, it's bringing back 2020 to 2022 memories of teaching and hybrid. Okay. All right, so just a few announcements here to bring our class to bring our meeting to a close. So again, we want to recognize our 2 speakers for today, and the speaker gifts were created by a group called Sad Boy Tees. One of them is a friend of mine, and he started this screen printing business up on Milwaukee Avenue. So they're the ones where I got the bags from. So we met our visitors, and here's what's coming up. So next week, we have a presentation by Scott Silberstein. He co-founded HMS Media. So if you haven't registered yet for that one, make sure you look into that. He is being recognized as one of Chicago's top 50 movers and shakers in the Chicago's arts and cultural sector. The following Tuesday is called Beauty in the Broken Pieces by Freddie Almazan. He's an author and a speaker. So he'll be here to talk about some trauma that he had in his life and how that shaped where he is now. And just as a heads up, the week after that, July 30th, will be our monthly fellowship meeting. So we won't be having speaker. It's just us. We'll just be us hanging out, having fellowship, and catching up. So for those of you who did not register in time, you got charged an extra happy $10. So this is for all the Rotary One members who I almost want to say who couldn't get it together in time to register, but we appreciate that you're here. But if you do register after that Friday 11 a.m. deadline, just know that you'll be happily donating $10 to the club. So speaking of donating, every week we talk about this, making sure that you are doing your part to donate to Rotary International, to the foundation, to the Rotary International Foundation, because we can't do the projects without money. So do make sure that you are doing your part and making those donations. On Monday, when is this? The first Monday of every month, we have the Rotary Means Business Fellowship. There is no cost to attend this. This is a business networking event. It is the first Monday of every month. Check-in starts at 5:30. The event itself is from 6 until 8, so the next one is on August 5th. And I think the location rotates, is that right? I'm not sure actually at the moment where this meets, but you can always look on the calendar and that will tell you what's coming up. Every Friday we have the Rotary Roundtable, which is just networking and fellowship. This is at noon on the 4th floor here. And we are always looking for exciting speakers. So if you have anybody in mind that you think would be a good speaker for us, make sure you let Eric know. You've got his contact information, or you can talk to me or talk to Shannon as well if you have an idea for a future speaker. So with that, I ended my first class on time at 1:10, so we are ready for the four-way test. If you will please stand. And let's show our guest speakers today what it means to be a Rotarian. So the Rotary four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned? And number 5, of course it'll be fun. Like, of course. Will it be fun? Yes. So with that, I bring this meeting to a close. Thank you very much. Thank you to those on Zoom as well.